Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome. We're very happy to have you. I think people are still coming in, so we'll do a short introduction. My name is Indra Mangal, and I work in the education department at the Asian Art Museum. And I'm very pleased to welcome you all today, this beautiful Saturday morning. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which the Asian Art Museum is located is the ancestral home of the Ohlone peoples who stewarded the land for generations. For all of our viewers who are in the United States, we are all on Indigenous land. And you can see which lands on which you reside by going to native-land.ca if you're interested to see who the ancestral lands belong to. We pay respect to the elders past, present, and emerging, for they hold the memories, traditions, and culture of their people across the nation. And we extend our respect to the Ohlone and coastal Miwok, as well as other Indigenous people who are present. Please note this program is being recorded and will be up on our YouTube station in a few days. And our past San Francisco Zen Center meditation sessions are all up on our YouTube page. So we hope you'll get to enjoy those. As you probably saw from the slides as you were coming in, the museum is open to the public with limited capacity, which is great. I have a friend who was there last week and said it was very meditative. So you get to have space and time to truly enjoy the collection, any of your favorites that you've had in the past, and see also there's some special exhibitions, but it's really exciting that we're reopened, and hopefully we'll stay that way. Today we will have you'll have some instruction and guided meditation. You can put questions either in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and our instructor Eli will be pulling those out throughout the course of the session today. So I'm very pleased to welcome, this is our first time working with Eli. I hope it's not our last. This is Eli Brown-Stevenson, who is a resident priest at San Francisco Zen Center, currently serving as Director of Work Practice. He contributes to policy development, diversity and inclusion work, trainings, conflict resolution, and other areas of human resources. And he has informed me that though the Zen Center is not open to the public yet, all of their practices can be found on their website, SFZC, which stands for San Francisco Zen Center, .org. You said .org, right? Okay, yes. And please check it out and you can get to participate. So without further ado, this is Eli. Welcome, Eli.
Thank you, Indra. Thank you for the warm welcome. And good morning to all of you out there in the Zoom online Zendo, as I will refer to it, or meditation hall. I'm just taking a moment to scan the gallery and see if I can see some faces. Looks like there's about 60 people here this morning. So it's a lot bigger group than I'm used to. We're usually about 10, 12 of us together in a physical space. So hopefully I'll do my best to transmit our style of meditation to you this morning. Before I get started, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of kind of the series of events this morning so that you can settle. First, I'll just give you a little bit of history of maybe where our style of Zen comes from, our meditation comes from, and yeah, just lay out some fundamental things. After that, I will go over the 3 basic components on how to sit, which are posture, what to do with your breath, and then that good old thing, the mind, which I know will surely play a part in all of this, right? After that, I will give you some guided assistance in meditation. Usually we just sit in silence towards a wall, which I'll speak about later, but I will give you some slight instructions so that you can get kind of settled. And then we will take a little stretch break, reestablish our meditation posture, and then I will set you off to sail for about 10 minutes silently. And with any other time, we'll use for question and answer. And like Indra said, as we're going through, I have the comments and Q&A box open, and we'll do my best to acknowledge and pay attention to them. Before we did start also, I wanted to just get a bit of information from all of you. I'm curious if you have all meditated or had any experience with sitting before. So in the chat, if you go to the bottom of your screen, there's a little chat kind of balloon or window, and you can click on it. And if you could just 1 to 5 your meditation experience, if you don't mind typing that really quickly, it'll maybe help me know if there's anything I can leave out. So, okay, they're coming in. Wonderful. 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 Okay, so I'm just going to quickly assume that we're in a 2 range. So those of you who are newer might actually be in a better shape than those who have the 3, 4s, and 5s. The reason I'm saying that, and besides also coming to you from the grounds of the Ohlone people, currently the building that occupies this space is the temple that I live at, called City Center, or Hosinji, which translates to Beginner's Mind Temple. So if you are a beginner, you are absolutely in the right place. It comes from a saying in Japan called Shoshin, which means beginner's mind. So the goal of this practice is to keep this beginner's mind, this fresh mind that is ready for anything. I believe that probably by now some of you have heard the kind of become a famous quote from our founder, Suzuki Roshi. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, and in the experts, there are few. So again, this is the fundamental attitude that we're engaging with this practice today, and to just be with that moment by moment. So there's a couple of more things that I wanted to mention from the get-go. And it's along the lines of that beginner's mind. And that is, there's absolutely no mistakes that you can make today. I could probably make a couple as the instructor, but really is nothing that you can do that is wrong. We're simply here to just practice today, paying attention to what arises in our minds and our body. I also feel that it's probably important to recognize, or to at least be in touch with, whatever intention brought you here today. So, or whatever is leading you to maybe pick up a practice. So I have to say that Zen meditation, or Zazen as we call it, will not give you the ability to fly or read minds, at least not in my experience. But it will bring about a life that maybe is more stressed, a personality that's more kind, more adaptable, open-hearted, and patient with the many changes in life, and to do that in a less reactive way. So this practice is not at all to make suffering or pain stop. Instead, it helps us to support our ability to be with suffering in a way that gives us a chance to meet it in a way that causes less harm. So in the kind of the long arc, we are cultivating wisdom, compassion, patience, and I hope that brings about some joy. In the realm of Buddhism, which is kind of the avenue that I'm coming from, there are many different paths to awakening. And so all these different meditation styles could be thought of as doorways. And one of the teachers that I work closely with, Susan O'Connell, describes these different doorways by saying, there's a Tibetan door, and this door might have bright orange colors and flashy things and like bangly hanging objects. You might have the Vipassana door, which I think many of us probably is our first gateway into meditation, which is very popular in America. And that door would be very padded and cozy, a lot of cushions around it, soft, warm colors. And then you would have the Zen door, which would be a door with no decoration whatsoever. And so I was talking to Indra before this, and I think that some of that aspect of Zen, that emptiness and those kind of words might push people back a little bit, or, could be off-putting to a degree. And especially when you're talking about cultivating wisdom and compassion. But yeah, I hope that in this practice, we can demystify some of that scariness and make the door feel just very much like a door, inviting that you can step through. So the important thing to remember is that these are all just different doors. This might not be the right door for you. That's perfectly okay. But my wholehearted encouragement is to really pay attention to what brought you here today, the heart, we call it the way-seeking mind. That is important to cultivate and investigate. So if this isn't the avenue, find the one that is. So this practice, again, is fundamentally to work on the suffering and anxiety that you may meet in life, and the fundamental truth that everything changes. And so I assume that you all are getting a little bit familiar with this over the past 8 months, day to day, week to week, having to change with, or having to meet these changes that are quite unfathomable. So how can we do that? How can we stay connected to others, stay connected a little bit more connected to our life and the way it is? So our specific lineage of Buddhism, Zen, is emphasized on this warm hand to warm hand transmission. So most of our teaching is done the same way it is now, usually in person, but by somebody communicating to another being, being to being transmission. And so it came the same way that a lot of, or all the Buddhist traditions did, are specifically from India to China by Bodhidharma, who you may recognize that name, especially. I know that there's some pieces that represent him in the Asian Art Museum, and in China, it was heavily influenced by Taoism, which, if you're familiar with or want to look into, has a lot of resemblance to the way that Zen is presented. From China, it went to Japan by the founder of our particular style of school, Eihei Dogen Zenji, and then to America by the founder of our school, Suzuki Roshi. So that's a very brief summary of perhaps how we all are gathered here today. And if you're not familiar with the historical kind of story of the Buddha, check it out. You can find it in many forms and fashions. You could probably make it a Netflix night, but it's worth looking into. So now we've made it to where we're going to start to actually talk about what you came for today, which is meditation. So to do this, I want to make sure that my screen is set up in a way that you can see me. So at some point I will adjust it. The first thing I want to cover is posture. And you could say that is one of the most important things of practice in general, not just sitting, but throughout our walking life, our waking life. So a good thing to remember is when the body stops moving and becomes still, it's a lot easier to see how busy the mind is. And that's really one of the core components of why we emphasize posture so much. It's also important to pay attention to what rises in the body, especially pain, because you do not want to hurt yourself. And I'll emphasize this a couple of more times, but there's a big difference between kind of cutting off some circulation and feeling blood, the little pins and needles, totally fine. But it's important to not sit in a way that leads to you feeling no sensation, because it could be actually cutting off nerves, which could lead to further damage that will not allow you to, let alone sit, but it could do stuff for walking. So the first thing is to actually take a position. So there's 4 traditional ways of meditating the Buddha offered: walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. Because of time and everything, we're just going to be going over sitting. And the 2 kind of places to sit, I guess, would be on the ground, on a cushion, or in a chair. So the first thing I'll do is kind of go over the sitting, and let me angle this down. Okay, let me see. I believe it's hard for me to angle and still see. So I'm hoping that you can see my legs, perhaps in a good enough way. So the main objective here is to protect your knees. So you want to make sure that you're sitting on something padded. I'm using a meditation cushion, but you could just use a folded towel, or if you're on carpet. And you want to make sure that you have a good connection with your knees. Again, this is most important. If your knees are not touching the cushion, it's important to get padding, and forgive me, I don't have any on me, to bolster your legs so that you do not feel any stretching in your knee. So the different ways of actually sitting are a couple of postures. One is full lotus, which is when your legs are completely up like this, both of your feet on your thighs. We're not even going to get into that today, because I even know monks that worked their way into that and have been sitting like that for years, and in retirement are not really able to walk well. So unless you already have that as a practice, I'm just going to kind of recommend that you pay attention to these others. So the next would be half lotus, which is simply to have 1 foot on the opposite leg's thigh. And again, making sure that my knees are touching the ground. And from here, another option is Burmese, where you'll have both of your feet side by side in front of you. And this can be nice and offer kind of a wide base of support. The next one that we can do is campfire, which is just your normal cross-legged position. And if you are sitting like this, again, put pillows right here, or meditation cushions, again, so that your legs are not actually doing the support. The ground is supporting you. And sorry if I'm going through these fast. In person, I would actually probably work with you. So you may want to schedule some time in a yoga studio. Most yogis can help you out with this. The other ways to sit are called seiza, and you can do that by sitting like this on your knees. I'm making sure that you guys can see me. And the important thing is alignment. And so you can sit like I am, just on your feet. You can sit on a meditation cushion like this. Or they also do make benches, which is nice because it'll relieve the pressure from going onto your feet. The one thing I will say about sitting seiza on your knees is it's important that the bottom of your legs do not go too far out. And I can't even do it because it's uncomfortable, but I have a 3-year-old daughter and I have to watch this, but you don't want to make a W with your legs. It's incredibly damaging. So those are the, hello again, those are the floor postures. So now I'm going to get to the posture that I think is probably most used today, that I probably do about as much sitting in a chair as I do on the floor. And that's just simply because this is something I can take with me anywhere, airport, BART, work, wherever you're at. So the important thing about sitting in a chair is that you don't probably relaxed too much. So if you can see the back of the chair here, I'd recommend not sitting back against the chair unless your body requires it, because it's just easy, as you can see, for me to fall asleep. My body is not actually upright. And so I would suggest sitting a little bit forward on the chair. And what this will allow is for you to sit up straight. And again, when I say straight, I don't mean arrow straight or broomstick straight. You want to follow the natural curvature in your back. And so you can do that either by sitting up, or if you do need a little support, I'd recommend putting a cushion right behind you like this. And that will give you a little added support, but not too much that you want to take a little siesta. And the last thing I will say about sitting in a chair, and I'll go back to a floor view. Hope you guys do not mind this camera work, is let's say that you are on a chair that is too high for you, and this one's not, but your feet are dangling. You will want to go ahead and get a pillow or folded towel there so that your feet can be flat against the ground. Again, this is where you're forming your kind of basis, that in your butt. So it's important to have those feet flat on the ground, and then you can keep a nice 90-degree angle going up your body. So again, thank you for bearing with this. Maybe I should invest in some of the wireless headphones too. We have gotten into our seat. I did actually want to talk about a little bit about the posture, because just getting there is one thing, but there's still some components that I feel are really important to point out. So one, if you're in a chair or seating, you do want to kind of make sure that your hips are at level or higher than the knees. That's going to create, again, the stability that you want. Everybody has a different body, and this is very important to remember. So you can kind of look at other people's postures, but it's really important, again, to make your posture your own. And it's, again, about balance. So that you can be upright and alert. So another way of helping with this is to imagine, you may have heard this before, you have a string being pulled at the top of your crown. And that will allow your spine to naturally arise. And it can help if you maybe hold your shoulders up a little bit and roll them back. Not too hard, and it might feel kind of funny at first, but when you do that, you'll feel that your shoulders kind of settle in your midsection. Your midsection is settling on your hips. And so play with this process. It can, not to discourage you, but it can take years to find your posture. Just pay attention to how your body feels, and it will continue to change. And so this will be an ongoing process. And so just always pay attention to that fine line between kind of the discipline of being upright and being relaxed. So what to do with your hands? They can either just go on your thighs. I don't know if you can see that. Just they can either go on your thighs. The important thing, if they do go on your thighs, is not to roll your shoulders forward. Again, keep them back. Or they can go in what we call the cosmic mudra, which is simply placing your hands near hara or right near your belly button. And you're going to take your right hand, palm up, place your left palm with your fingertips just crossing each other. And then you're going to touch your fingertips or your thumbs lightly, as if you're holding a piece of paper, all right? So not so lightly that the paper falls, but also not so hard that the paper wrinkles. So very light. And then from here, you want to position your arms. We're taught to imagine we have an egg under our armpits, and we don't want to smash the egg, and yet we don't want to drop it. So if you play with those bits of posture that I explained to you, you will tend to start to feel an expansiveness in your midsection that will really allow for for you to breathe fully. And again, it may feel odd at first, but practice with it. That's why it's called that. The eyes, we recommend to have them slightly open and at a 45-degree angle, which actually does help quiet the central nervous system. So maybe 3-4 feet in front of you and at a soft gaze. All right. Traditionally, we do face a wall when we sit, again, to just alleviate the distractions of kind of the dualistic world and let everything drop away and engage in that paradox. But it has to be comfortable for you. If that is not comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes or to leave your eyes open. Again, you got to enter through kind of safety first and what works for you. Let's see if there's anything I'm missing. So just to remember that this paying attention to our posture really will set up how the rest of your sitting goes. And again, I just before we go on to what to do with breath, I do want to remind you this thing about pain. Again, we really emphasize in our practice to actually explore the pain. It will actually help you engage in the present moment. And we recommend that you turn towards it and be curious with it. But if it ever is extremely painful, or if it's going beyond just falling asleep, or mild ache, and into again any kind of no sensation or sharp pain, then again that's a nerve issue, and you need to figure out a different way to sit that is more supportive to your body. All right, don't try to work your way into something that's painful. And I'm looking, I still see no questions. Know that if any do come up, the boxes are open for you. All right, so I got to get to these next two parts so that we can do some sitting. The second component that we'll talk about is breath and what to do with the breath. So as I'm finding my posture and I become still, I'm often rocking a little bit side to side, just trying to establish that last bit of connecting and rooting to the ground before I try to settle and become still. And during this time, I do find myself taking some rather intentional breaths, deep breaths, really just trying to shake off some of what I'm perhaps carrying in from the day or awakening with from the night. And as you come to a still, just start to follow your breath naturally as it's coming in and out of the body. Start to acknowledge the rise and the fall of the belly. Or as I was explaining, you'll start to experience this opening of the chest. And so this being with our breath, being with the rising and the contracting in this very moment is the fundamental part of practice. All right, this is exactly what you're doing moment to moment. Done. All right. Have a good day. See you. It could be that simple. My words could be done and I could set you off your way if that could just be. But we usually can't do that. So one of the more popular ways of actually engaging with this is counting your breaths. And so you can do this just by going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with each inhalation or exhalation. The important thing to remember is when you do go, 1, 2, 3, 4, what am I doing for Thanksgiving? Oh, come back very gently without any type of judgment. It's your mind is not going to just follow this as you may wish. So Thanksgiving, come back to the breath, 1, 2, so on and so forth. And I often used to find myself on like 35 and then I'm too far. So again, just let it go. Come back to the sensation of your body and your breath. Now, at some point, this may be, this, I don't want to call it a training wheel, but this kind of training of counting might not be that useful for you. And in that case, then go back to that original practice of just that sensation. That is really the emphasis of the practice. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the mind before I have you engage, in this actual practice we're talking about. So again, first, it's important to acknowledge that when you sit, you do not have to be anything for anybody. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to be anyone. You can literally just sit and drop it. I think that's part of why I'm somewhat a fan of just facing towards the wall. It allows me to engage in that a lot more fully. And it's interesting, they point out, one of our teachers, Taya, that there's a difference between somewhat of, we are doing mindfulness, yes, but there's a difference somewhat of mindfulness and meditation, because in meditation, we are just simply being. In Zazen, we are just simply being. And another word for that is shikantaza. And in that, there's no one even actually trying to be mindful. So, if you can just let yourself go and engage in that, that is part of this practice. And as you do that, you will still notice that thoughts, sensations, and emotional energy arises. So what is that? What are they? Where do they come from? Where do they return to? That's not what we're really actually trying to figure out. Remember, the mind has a mind of its own. All right. It's very important to know that it's impossible for you to stop thoughts from arising. Or what type of thoughts you have from arising. And so, again, if that's your goal, I'm just letting you know, I don't think that this practice will eliminate that. Meditation is not about trying to stop your thoughts or halt the thinking process. It's just about slowing down, so that when these thoughts arise, we can see them with a little bit more clarity, and perhaps have a chance on how we react or how we engage with them. One Zen master said, "Do not invite the thoughts in for tea." It's as simple as that. Remember that thoughts multiply by association. So every time we notice when we're thinking and we let it go, and we come back to the body, come back to the breath, this habit of the thinking mind, of going straight into the thinking mind, is actually weakened. And so that's, if something's being cultivated, that muscle is. But as these thoughts do arise, we do not push them away, nor do we engage with them. Zazen, or this type of meditation, is about open receptivity. We open our bodies and our minds to what arises, see it without judgment, and then return back to this breath. And I don't like to always to promote this part, especially when we've had years like it has been in 2020. But even with the pleasant thoughts and the exciting thoughts, you have to let them arise and pass. It's the same. It's the same practice, without looking for more pleasure or fantasizing further. Okay. So again, whether positive or negative, the mind does not contract, grab onto, engage with, reify around any thoughts. We don't, create stories and allow them to rise and cease on their own. You've probably heard the most popular metaphor or imagery used to describe this is if a cloud held, if the sky held every cloud that arose, even the fun, puffy, light springtime ones, and the most thunderous storm clouds, we'd never be able to see the blue sky. So, that's exactly what happens with our thinking mind. If the emotional energy, the thoughts, and the sensations are too much, the blue sky of our mind will be obscured. All right. So, yeah, just remember that the thoughts and sensations equal emotions. When the strong ones arise, anger, grief, anxiety, again, fear, excitement, or even stimulation, just again, gently return back to the body, back to the breath. And the important thing is in there is to actually tune into what the sensation feels like in your body, what the emotion of pain, of fear, of excitement feels like in the body, and not so much what the emotions are about themselves. I hope that makes sense, because it's an important distinction. Whew. Okay, so I feel a little I need some zazen from that talking. I hope that that was not too fast paced for you. And again, come try this in the flesh sometime when you can. Until then, we'll be around online. You can have a more thorough expression of this every Saturday. Information's on our website. So, are you all ready to give it a shot? Okay, we're gonna try this out now together. What I'm gonna do is invite you to go ahead and get into a position that you feel you can be in. This first round we're only gonna do for 5 minutes. I'm just gonna kind of walk you into the water. We're gonna go through the steps I just said in a shorter fashion, so you can kind of be guided in. Then I'm gonna ring the bell again, give you about 15, 20 seconds to kind of stretch, maybe move around. And then I'm gonna allow you to sit. I'm gonna push you off the sail, and you'll be at sea for about 10 minutes. No instruction, just you, your breath, and give you some time to be with that. And then we'll use any remaining time for questions. So go ahead and get into a posture that you feel you can be relatively alert, relaxed, and still for the next 5 minutes. All right, you can start by taking a couple of full intentional breaths. Just settling into our seat, making sure that we're stably connected to the ground. Remind yourself that this practice is for your own well-being, and that nothing that you can do is wrong. So as you start to settle into your posture, it may help to imagine that a string is pulling you up from the top of your crown, inviting your body into an upright, natural position. You can either place your hands on your thighs or make the cosmic mudra by placing your left hand in your right palm with the fingertips slightly touching. Next, gently roll your shoulders up and back, making sure that you're not leaning forward and your chest is open. It may help to imagine you're holding 2 eggs underneath your armpits. Do not break them nor drop them. You may feel quite a bit of room for your lungs to open and expand. And if it feels strange, it's okay. Just try to be with it for a moment. As you start to settle into your body and breath, take a quick scan to see if any adjustments need to be made. Notice if there are any sharp pinches or numbness. And if so, please do make an adjustment. Once you become aware of the breath, aware of the rising of the in-breath and the exhalation of the out-breath. In and out. Our founder, Suzuki Roshi, says there's an internal and an external universe that is limitless. And our breath is a flapping door between the two. So we're simply just bringing awareness to that door. In, out, in, and out. And as your mind starts to sweat astray, you can try counting if that helps from 1 to 10. As thoughts, sensations, and emotional energy arise, see if you can allow them to be without investigating, without leaning in, or without pushing away. It's okay. Just return back to the body, return back to the breath. And again, just checking in with your posture. And again, just noting any sounds in the room. Without judgment, return back to your breath, allowing them to just rise and go as they came. All right, welcome back. And when we come out of meditation, I should have probably said this before, we'll come out the way that we went in. So again, just perhaps rocking back and forth, becoming more aware of our kind of awake breath, if that makes sense. And then perhaps open our eyes or come back to full vision of the room. For myself, I often like to just look around a little bit, reintroduce my body back to its environment, back to the present moment. And here we are. So I hope that that went well. And due to time, I'm going to turn this kind of right around, and I think we'll go ahead and just do 8 minutes the second time, again, just for time's sake. But I wanted to give you a chance to be guided and then experience it as it is normally offered in silence. So stretch your legs for another 10 seconds or so, do some rocking. And then I'm going to time this for 8 minutes. And all you have to do is sit. So I'll start again with 3 bells and end with 1. And remember, whatever you do is exactly what's supposed to happen. And you are doing this meditation perfectly. I really do mean that. So. And welcome back. I wish I could look all of you in the eyes right now and find out how that was for you. Perhaps the longest 8 minutes of your life. But how wonderful. I do not know how that was for you, but I'm inspired that 61 of us showed up today and stopped and just stopped. I think that actually that could be enough, and just to see what was there, to make space to turn towards our life in the most intimate way. And so I think we have a couple minutes left if anyone has questions. Andrew, I don't know if you can, I don't know how questions, I think they just go in the chat, right? I don't think you can ask them verbally. And I see some people are going. Yes, thank you all for coming. I'm sorry that it went quickly. I had a lot to say, but come back. Thank you. Thank you for the warm words.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but a lot of thanks. And that was, it did maybe feel very long, but thank you. A lot of thanks. Thank you all.
It was less than the 10 minutes, I think, to other people.
No, we really appreciate it. I hope you'll, oh, there's one in the Q&A if you'd like to.
Yes. So I think it's from Boone. I think that's how I pronounce that. So it says, thank you for sharing with us today. So we can think about our physical body, but let outside of the body thoughts pass. Oh, good. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, I think that even in our body too, we would let things pass just the same. We are paying attention to sensation stuff. And I hope I'm answering your question correctly, but if I hear the bird out there, just acknowledging the bird came and it passed, not to investigate, oh, I wonder where the bird's going, what it's going to eat. Gosh, I hate it when birds fly when I'm sitting. So the same instruction is to the body when we are paying attention to a sensation. So my knee's a little sore now from sitting over this time. So the instruction is to just as the bird, to observe it, but not to maybe go into the story. So, oh gosh, I think if I don't move, I'm gonna not be able to run later. If I can't run later, then I can't play with my 3-year-old daughter. So there's this way that we can kind of go into story. So good question. You are noting everything for what it is, and then allowing it to change as it will. So I hope that answers that question. Another one that's coming up, can you meditate in different positions each time, or is it best to stay in the same? So in general, I would say experiment, definitely experiment. I would also recommend that you pick maybe a particular time of the day that you can commit to, and also maybe a form that you can commit to as far as posture. When you do something over and over again, especially like I sit in the morning, day in and day out, I learn so much more about myself due to I'm putting myself in kind of that same container. I'm a lot more able to see where my mind has kind of strayed or whatnot. So I hope that answers the question, but do try it all, because something is going to connect with you more than not. So is it okay to lay down instead of sitting? Absolutely. Again, the 4 ways that the Buddha offered were walking, sitting, standing, and lying down. So if you do lie down, I would get some tips. You can contact someone at Zen Center, but it's good maybe to have your legs a little elevated, and there's some things you can do so that you don't fall asleep, but definitely do not let that be a reason why you wouldn't. Q&A box, would you recommend a good time to meditate? When is it best for the mind to focus? I would maybe recommend, we sit in our tradition every morning, first thing. That's how we're grounded in the day, and then we go from there. So that would be my quick answer. But again, I think a time that you can dedicate to, that you have maybe the space, but any time is a good time to meditate. more so every moment you have. If you're waiting in line, try not to scroll on the phone and do updates, just breathe a little on the BART. And not when you're driving, when you're a passenger, definitely. But yes, meditate as much as you can, get that pause. Is it recommended to listen to music, soundscapes, or whatnot? Yeah, I think that there's a time and a place for everything. I do recommend some type of kind of silent, contemplative, no input or distractions, but I have did tons of gong, sound bowl meditations, and all these things can be, I think, very healing. Actually, I would engage in those more for like healing processes. Is it best to exhale through the mouth, or does it make a difference? So again, there's different types of meditations will deliver different results. We tend to just breathe in and out of our nose, but again, if there's some reason, some people might feel more comfortable breathing in that way. There's not a rule against it. Also, I do know that there are certain techniques that are used to kind of inhale through the nose and maybe exhale through the mouth to deliver you to a more kind of grounded, relaxed state. So if you're really tense, maybe don't go sit meditation, do some deep breathing that way. Do you suggest tongue on the roof of the mouth? Yes. This is just one of those small things that I had to cut out some things. So yes, Elaine, thank you for that question. We suggest that you lightly have your tongue kind of at the top of your mouth, very lightly. I don't exactly know why. Is it more important for the position to be intentional or relaxed? Ooh, I love it. So Zen is about paradoxes. Okay, so both. That's what you get. I'm sorry to be that way, and people get annoyed at Zen, but both intentional and relaxed. That is your goal, to figure that one out. Thank you, Lisa, for that one. Annie said, I want to say it went very quickly. Yes, it absolutely did. Somewhat to my discomfort, I have to say that communicating through Zoom has given me the gift of letting go and being childlike in my awareness, always coming to how we can change to save the earth from all our destructive habits. Yes, it was nourishing to feel the similar feeling of Zoom and meditating. Seems heavy, but I carry that with me. Thank you so much, Annie, for bringing that forth. It is very difficult for I think a lot of intentionality to come through with Zoom, but I'm also so touched that I'm here, with 60 people, and normally it might have only been 13 or something. I'm very enthused that somebody who might not have the sight or maybe impaired severely so that they can't come to the Zen Center is able to participate. And so I really appreciate you kind of studying and engaging in that dynamic. So I think I
think it's time
so
now.
it's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, I know all the questions in chat, but someone said about the tongue being on the roof, back of the teeth makes a vacuum and you produce less
Thank
saliva.
you. I appreciate that. I just, sometimes I just hear things, okay, I'll do it, so.
Right. Some of the observations where people feel more peaceful, one person said they haven't felt, it's been a while since they felt this peace. And that is beautiful. That's a beautiful sentiment to end on. We want to thank you, Eli. That was a really special session. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us. I hope you'll come back and be with us again, Eli. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait to get back to the museum and its openness. That sounds so exciting.
We are hoping to have these sessions on site eventually. So want to send everyone with peace for the rest of your day and through the next couple of weeks, which are very stressful. Hopefully we can meditate to uplift us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.